West Ham, the last of kind of this horrible February run which we all had. Arsenal twice, Leicester and Tottenham. And I think before the month we all kind of probably said 12 points if you want to get Champions League. We're not getting that even if we win this game. So it feels like it's kind of a bit of a Europa League slash Conference League or bust. And obviously, look, after this game, got a very easy run. And you'd expect to pick up points, albeit we don't always do great in those games, especially at home. But West Ham feels like a big game, especially even psychologically. West Ham. I just watched the Europa League draw. They've got Sevilla, so they probably won't even go that far in the Europa League. So they might actually have that distraction like we all thought they would. Because I think a lot of people thought they'd get far in that competition. Obviously, they're above us in the league, but they're only 2 points ahead of us. We've got one game in hand now, which is obviously the Watford game, which you kind of assume will win. But West Ham feel like the most catchable. I know Tottenham is still below us, and they're kind of doing their best to be kind of put into this bracket. But I think Arsenal and Man United are a bit too far ahead at this stage. And look, we could still lose to West Ham and get Europe. Of course we could. But it's a bit of a statement. We responded to the Arsenal heartbreak at Molineux really well. We went to Tottenham 2 days later and everyone was kind of nervous and we did well. And we kind of have to do that again. Obviously, the Arsenal game yesterday hurt a lot more than the other one. But the lineup's going to be really interesting. So there's two main questions. Who starts at right back after Semedo's injury and who starts up front or in that front three? This is what I would go with. Obviously, the back three stays the same. Aït-Nouri, for me, keeps his place over Marcel any day of the week. And the thing is, the game is such a quick turnover that affects it for me. Like, I prefer the midfield three, especially in these bigger games. But I don't think West Ham's midfield is that good. Like, obviously, Declan Rice is good. Although he's not on the greatest form of the last few weeks, but he's a good player. I don't rate Thomas Souček. I think he's bang average. But when you look at Thomas Souček's numbers, he's literally just Dendoncker. Like, doesn't do anything on the ball, can't dribble, he's not mobile, he doesn't press, he doesn't really do much defensive work. He's just a big guy who gets in good areas and wastes chances. So, like, I'd back a midfield two of Dendoncker and one other to kind of compete with West Ham, especially away from home, where you probably won't have much of the ball anyway. I think Dendoncker's earned his place. As much as I don't rate him, he's earned his place on merit. And I didn't think Neves was actually very good against Arsenal. I thought it was actually one of his worst games of the season. I thought Moutinho was actually a bit better. But with him just coming back from injury and his age, I've kind of just put Ruben in there for legs. But I wouldn't really care who starts there. With Keanu Hervey, it's a weird one because Johnny's kind of come back from injury and he's took his spot on the bench. And I think it's pretty clear that Bruno Lage probably sees Johnny as a right wing back. Just because we all see Johnny as a left back doesn't mean Bruno Lage will. He might not want a right footed left back. And the reason I'm putting Keanu Hervey in there is one, I know he's not, I think he's only played is it 200 minutes? I think it's 200 minutes in the league, right? 194 minutes in the league. So he's not that he's necessarily first team ready. Johnny's probably played half the minutes he has, but he's been more in and around the squad. He's come in and done well. Like, he played against Leicester, I think, on the opening day off the top of my head. And what was the other game, Keanu? Chelsea. And I don't think he's ever really let us down whenever he started. Obviously, the Liverpool thing happened, but apart from that, I wouldn't really have any issue with Keanu Hervey. And the thing is with Johnny, he's still coming back from an injury. When he came back from injury last time, his numbers weren't terrible. Like, he was still pressing like he did before. And he was an okay ball carrier, but it was down in a lot of metrics. And this was a year ago when Johnny was just coming back from that injury and only played 400 minutes before he got injured again. You'd assume Johnny will be even worse than this now because he's older and had another injury. And whereas Keanu Hervey, whether you like him or not, he's good at specific things. He's a very good presser. His tackle number has always been pretty high. He's an okay ball carrier. He profiles like Aït-Nouri and Semedo. Even like, I'm not saying he's incredible. He's pretty bad on the ball as well, probably because of his age. Top 1% off of pressures, top 1% off of tackles, top 8% off of dribbles. He has things about him, and I just trust Keanu Hervey, who's been in training for 8-9 months, compared to Johnny, who's been on the sidelines away at West Ham personally, although I think Johnny will start. And then the front line's the interesting one. Obviously, Raul Jimenez kind of got scapegoated for the Arsenal game. I can kind of understand why. He wasn't great, and he snatched a chance at 2-0. I think at 1-0 to make it 2-0. I think if Raul scored that, we probably would have won that game, because it would have kind of just been a repeat of the Tottenham first start. But and I don't hate Raul Jimenez. I think some people were overreacting on Twitter, but I think Fabio deserves a chance. He had a nice run, kind of December, January time, and obviously Raul got that injury, and he started against Brentford and Norwich. but he played in the front two of Podence. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think Raul can do that job. Whereas I've never really liked Fabio in the front two. I think you need him in the front three. He makes good runs, which you could. It's probably something you could label him as that he doesn't anymore. And I think you need two players feeding in Fabio Silva into one. The reason I put Trincao in there, I know people don't like Trincao, and that's fine, but one, again, it's a 2-day turnover. I think you need to refresh the side a bit, and Trincao's not really played much. But whether you like Trincao or not, the one good thing he does is he controls the ball well. I'm not saying he does loads with it. I'm not saying he's an amazing goal scorer, creator, or crosser or anything, but he presses really well, which you'll need after a 2-day turnover. West Ham had a whole week off, and he holds the ball well. None of our other forwards really do that. The amount of times in that Arsenal game where Daniel Podence would pick up the ball on the right, or Hwang would pick it up on the left, they pick up the ball, they try and do something, just give it away, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think you can only have one of those guys. You need someone in that front line that can actually control the ball, and Trincao does do that. With Podence, I've just put him in because of form. I know Hwang scored, but he didn't really do anything against Arsenal, and Podence had an okay little run. That's the only reason I'm picking him. I don't think just because Hwang scored a goal from an Arsenal error, you have to start him. Do you know what I mean? Although I'm pretty confident Bruno Lage will start him. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. Maybe Pedro Neto's good enough for a start, but I'd be very surprised. Plus I think Podence is better off the left, personally. And I'd rather have Trincao helping out Keanu who's just come back. So that'd be my kind of and Fabio Silva up top. I think he's just earned his shot. Why not? The one thing Wolves are bad at doing right now is getting any sort of shots off right now. To be fair to Raul Jimenez, he's not playing in a coherent side in terms of attacking. Obviously we're doing amazing, but that's in spite of our attack. And I was saying this one on Twitter yesterday. I saw someone say, well, Raul Jimenez is playing in a more attacking Wolves side under Bruno Lage. He should be scoring more, but in reality, we're not. We're better defensively. I think we're more structured than we were under Nuno in that final year, but we're still third bottom for shots. We're still one of the worst sides in terms of getting shots off on goal. West Ham don't even have a proper number 9. They've had 80 more shots than us, roughly. So I don't think it's all on Raul Jimenez, but he's clearly had a bit of a decline. I think it's a bit overstated, but Fabio has things. He's a very good presser, which I think we need in this game when it's a 2-day turnover. And he always gets shots off, Fabio. So whether you like him or not, he always gets shots off. And he's a useful player. And I think he deserves a chance. With Raul Jimenez, obviously 5 goals, 3 assists this season, that's okay. And the one thing you can't fault him for is his defensive work. He puts that in, and he's an okay dribbler. But, I think a lot of people point out his hold-up plays kind of drops off a bit, and I think that's probably fair. And obviously all his attacking metrics are terrible. But the thing is with Raul Jimenez is when you look at his numbers from before he got injured, which are these, they're not that different. He actually pressed a lot less, and there's this kind of thing that people are saying where wow, he's worse in the air than he was before. Before his injury, 1.9 aerial wins. Now he's at 2.7, so he's actually technically better in the air, or maybe not better in the air, but he's winning more in the air. But the thing is with him before the injury, he was a bit better on the ball, carried the ball a bit better. He just was a bit more refined as a hold-up guy. So the fact that he had, and he was having more shots as well, obviously. But I don't think that's more of a system thing, right? But I think there is a bit of a decline. I think the numbers show that a bit, but I don't think it's massive. I'm not worried about Raul Jimenez yet, personally. I think it's more of a system thing. Obviously, it's down to him as well, of course, granted, but I don't really recall many sitters, and I don't think his work ethic's an issue. But in spite of all that, even if you think Raul Jimenez is incredible and still exactly the same player he was before, it's a 2-day turnover to this West Ham game. I think Fabio's earned a go up front for me personally. Even if Raul Jimenez starts this game, fine. But it feels like there's this thing of we can't sub him off just because he's tall and wins aerial wins from corners and stuff. I just want to see Fabio in this game. We paid £35 million for him. I know that's not his fault, but it feels like he needs to get integrated in at some point. And for me, this feels like a perfect opportunity to do that. So that'll be my 11. Dendoncker concerns me a bit in the midfield too, because I don't really think he's great there, but I trust him to handle Thomas Souček. Plus West Ham are better in the air than us, so you might need Dendonker's aerial presence. I trust Keanu Hervey more than Johnny, just because he's more fit and had more minutes, although I think Bruno will start Johnny. Trincao just in there for a hold up and just a bit of balance. I think we look so much more balanced when Trincao plays. And I just think he gets a bit too much stick. Pedence in there just because he's a bit of a goal threat, which Trincao and Fabio Silva aren't. And Fabio Silva just to make runs and just a bit of energy and something different. And if it doesn't work out, fine. But that would be my 11. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, peace.